And we're here again. Up until now, we've got by with adjustment layers, and we've never really made permanent changes to the actual pixels of the image. But now we're going to make major and minor changes to the layer itself, so it's very important to set up with a duplicate layer. So let's do that again. Come to my layers palette, right click and duplicate, or Command plus J. I'm going to rename this to Fix. And then I'm going to right click again and come to Group, or Command plus G. I'm going to call that Folder. So I'm going to come to my fixed layer. That's where I'm going to be making my changes. Now I want to zoom in. So, well, I can come to my magnifying glass, but if I come down to my navigator, I've got another way of doing it, which is straightforward enough. I can zoom right in using the slider. If I come to say about there, and also I can move around where I want to see by dragging this little box around. Let's try it about there. Because here, he's got a few cuts and bruises on his face. I believe that's part of the job description, so let's get it all fixed up. We come over to the tool palette and we've got a whole load of tools right here. They're all different variations of how to heal certain areas. So let's start off with a simple one. That's going to be the blemish removal tool. Come to there and you get a little brush head like this. I can make it bigger or smaller by tapping the left and right bracket keys. Now what you want is for it to be just a little bit bigger than the area you're trying to cover up. That seems about right there, and click and bang, it's gone. What about here? A little bit bigger, click, and it's gone. There's a tiny little what looks like a spot just down there. Let's do that, click, and it's gone. Pretty simple so far, huh? Okay, I've got a birthmark here. Come over to it and don't click it. Well, why is that? You'll probably find most professional photographers will take out things like spots, cuts, maybe wrinkles if people ask for it, but they won't remove things like birthmarks. The reason being is spots and cuts, they're temporary things. At least you realise spots are temporary things once you get past your teenage years. But things like moles, birthmarks, freckles, like on this face, they're what makes a person's face what it is. It's what makes a person's face unique. And so if you remove the permanent features, you're starting to get into this unrealistic Photoshop land where you're not showing the person as they really are. So if you're doing this for somebody else, what I would suggest is, if they forget to ask you to remove things like birthmarks, you might forget to mention that you could do it if they wanted. But if they specifically ask for it, hey, it's their image, they can do what they want with it. If you click and then you drag, you can see I'm starting to move around. I'm starting to get different areas for me to take a reading from. Like at the moment, I'm taking a reading from these lip areas and it's moving all that information over to the area I want to cover up. That's it covered up. That's it going to different areas. Now the bit of the picture you're borrowing, in this case where the lips meet, that's called the sample area. And if I move over these lips, you can see it's taking the tonal information, i.e. the dark and light of the area, and also the texture information, but it's not taking the hue information, i.e. what colour it is. Like those lips are redder, but what the brush is doing, it's trying to match the colour of this sample with the surrounding cheek area in the area that you want to try and cover things up. So look, tonal information, don't need it. Some texture information, don't really need it, but the colour is okay. So I'm just going to move a little way away, let go, and there you go, one invisible heel. Okay, so the blemishes are back for us to work with. Let's come to our next tool. By the way, if you press J here, J, 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 you can see you cycle through all the different tools. So let's come to our healing brush tool. The circle is about the right size, so let's come to here and, oh! Just got this, come up here, look, healing brush tool. You must alt click to set a source before trying to heal. Okay, panic time, don't use it, go away, I don't like it, it's not simple. It really is very, very easy. All this is doing, it's asking you to select an area that you want to take your sample from. The sample, the little bit of the image that you want to use to stamp over somewhere else. So you hold down the Alt or the Option key. I never understood why it says Alt on the key, but you're supposed to call it Option. It's the one in between the Control key and the Command key on my keyboard, probably the same on yours. So hold it down and you get this little crosshair. If I move to say about here, now that little cross, that black cross there, you can see that is my sample point. So if I come to my little scar here and click, I get rid of it. If I come down to this area here, it's sampling from the same area. You can see when I move around, my little black crosshair moves around with it. It's sampling from everywhere around this area. That's why I chose an area of cheek here which hardly has any features on it, because now I'm going to get ambitious. I'm going to make my brush a bit larger, and I'm going to start to paint out the mouth. What fun I'm having here. Now, I'm not suggesting for a second that I've ever wanted to do this to my son in real life to get 5 minutes of peace and quiet. Dear me, no! Nope. Nope, 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 no. Keep on sampling right, and oh, I'm starting to get a problem here. What's that? And even more, if I come down a little bit around here, I start to get another problem. See that? I'm getting something very strange. If you look at the black crosshair where I'm sampling from, it looks like a section of just blank skin, which I took from the cheek, but I'm getting the lips and the nose. Where I am right now, I'm getting the lips. Now, I know you can see skin where the lips used to be, but what you're seeing and the way any type of clone tool works is slightly different. You see what the tool is doing, but until I let go of the mouse, the changes I've made aren't committed to the layer. Until then, the tool is reading what's underneath all these new pixels, which in this case, around where I'm sampling from, that's where the mouth is. And it's stamping the lips down in our new area. So at this point, you have the choice. Well, you've got to let go of the mouse. That commits. Now you can either press the undo button, or you can come back, now that we've got our sample point reset to its original location, and you can start to go over the area again. And this time I will let go and start to paint out that detail there and that detail there. This will happen to you again and again and again. It happens to me all the time. You're happily painting away, you're happily cloning something out, and then your sample area comes across, say, the nose or the lips, and you get this reading there. All right, now while we're here, we can do something with those wrinkles under the eyes. Not that I think doing so on a kid this age is in good taste, but we're just talking about the tool, and we have the image right here, right now. So if I do this, if I make my brush size smaller, now you can do this at 100% opacity like this, where you completely get rid of it. But that is quite a strong effect. I'm going to Command Z to get rid of that. Instead, I'm going to come here at the top bar, see where it says opacity, and I'm going to take the opacity right the way down to somewhere between 10 and 15%. And then I'm going to do it again, and again, and again, and again. I'm repeatedly drawing over the area, laying down, 11% opacity's worth of paint at any one time. And I'm gradually fading out the wrinkles under the eyelids, because it looks unnatural to have any kind of eyelid with no wrinkle there whatsoever. This way you can fade down wrinkles. You can dial the wrinkle button down to get a more subtle and more believable effect. Now for this, the good thing about having everything on a fixed layer is if I make it the whole thing invisible, I can compare with the original. So the original, okay, the mouth is going to be a big change, but take a look at the wrinkles. More pronounced, less pronounced. And we're back again, and this time let's show you the in-painting brush tool. And while I'm here, I will show you a mistake that you are going to make, unless you're very, very, very clever, in which case, good for you, well done. Now, the in-painting brush tool. Remember Quick Mask, where we laid down areas of bright red and it went away and worked things out? Well, I'm doing something similar here. The in-painting brush tool, it's quite good for when you want to take a look at what you're doing before you commit any changes, if you're working in a fairly precise area. Now here comes the mistake. Okay, so once I do that, I let go, it works it all out, and almost nothing's happened. It looks like nothing's happened at all. If I press Command Z, see how the lips got just a little bit darker there? What happened was, it actually worked, so I'm going to press Command Shift plus Z to make it what it originally was. Take a look up here. Remember, we adjusted the opacity down to 11%. So instead of getting the full effect, we got 11% of the full effect. So let's crank up the opacity back up to 100%. And I can paint again. This time, if I press Ctrl plus Alt, you can see I can control the size and hardness of my brush, just like a regular brush. I can also change the actual brush head so I get the slightly splattered effect that you saw with layer masks. Let's go for that now. And again, we'll start to paint over this area. I think a slightly blurrier edge works a bit better as well, so you do have that additional control. Let's take it down to here, get rid of that dark bit area here, let go, it works it all out, and see, that kind of thing happens all the time with these auto healing brush tools. You get this false reading, so let's, rather than undo, let's just move forward. Go to there. What can it do? In painting a brush, it's taking its time with this. I'm starting to get slightly better results. Let's make it a little bit smaller because I want to work on these areas around here which I didn't quite get. Okay, it's moving a bit faster now. Okay, I think you're getting the general principle of this, so I won't spend too much time with this. So that's in painting, and again, take a look at our original layer. Yeah, it's all there. Okay, let's come to the last one in this particular series. Come to this image, let's come to our navigator, let's make the image larger, and let's come to that pole. Doesn't really add anything to the scene, so let's come to our final brush here. Sorry, our second to final brush. The red eye removal is the final thing. Come to our patch tool. Now with this, it works like the lasso tool. You drag around the area you want to affect, let go, and look, if I move my mouse cursor around, you can see I'm deciding which bit of the image I want to fit there. I will go with about there. And another nice feature is if you want, you can come here and you can increase the size, decrease the size, you can rotate, you get a lot of flexibility. If I take it right down, oh, that is way too small. Right, let's just take it back to where it originally was, about, say, there. Click on any other tool, get rid of it, and what do you know? Alright, now there is one more tool in this section, that is the red eye removal tool. It is so straightforward, it's hardly worth me mentioning it to you, but for the sake of completeness, so that people don't accuse me of skimping on certain details, let's zoom right in. Now, whenever you're doing any of these correction things, you want to be on at least 100%. In this case, I'm on 150%, it tells me here. Now with the red eye tool, if you make it too small, you're not going to get a very good effect. That didn't work. Generally speaking, I try and make it about the width of the iris, and bang, it goes there. And the other mistake people make all the time, you wouldn't believe how often this happens. They go, right, I've done it, I've done both the red eyes, I'll leave it, and they completely forget about this. So you end up with one demon child instead of two. So again, come to here, and come to here, and there we go. Command +1, that's 100%, and red eye removed.